Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on skilling up my crafting a little bit and let's talk about this. Now, one thing that I've noticed lately with Cali Muscle continuing to shrink is that he's more or less turned his channel into a gaming channel. He's turned it into a gaming channel. Now, of course, his explanation, I'm sure he's discussed it, and it went something like this. Now, listen up, young blood. When I was in the penitentiary, we didn't have no women in there, but we also didn't have no video games. We had to make up our own games. Usually with stuff you would get in the commissary. Like, there's all types of games you can play with peanut butter, but my favorite one, the favorite one in my cell block, was called Hide the Pickle. But y'all don't know nothing about that life. Y'all don't know about that penitentiary life, young blood. So, that's more or less, I guess, what it comes down to. He's realized there's money in gaming. He's also realized this bodybuilding gig's not working out for him for his health in the long term. A lot of people are saying, you can't knock the man for doing something healthy. Well, that's true, but this is kind of like a long time coming. This is kind of like someone who's lived a horrifically bad, unhealthy lifestyle trying to make some positive changes when they're possibly getting near the end. It's a good idea and you can't knock them for it, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make it a real long time. You guys remember I always kind of run that death watch, right? And I have been pretty successful. Remember, with less than 1 year, I called out Rich Piana, and I called out Dallas McCarver. I said both of them had less than a year. I believe it was somewhere between the two of them 6 to 8 months. They both passed away. And to me, the signs were obvious. I put Cali Muscle last year on that list and said Cali has 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. That's what he's got left if he doesn't make some major changes in his life. I can already watch. I can watch by his breathing. I can watch by the amount of body mass he carries. I got a real good idea based upon those shipping labels what his stack looks like, right? I got a pretty good idea of what he prefers to use, what his preferred choices are based upon all that stuff he got from WFN. And they had contracts. I mean, that was legitimate. He was getting that stuff from them. So that's what I called. Now the man is shrinking down. Now, I'm not going to necessarily knock a man for realizing that he's messed up, that he is going to die with what he's done to himself, and saying, okay, I've got to make some change. So you can't knock that part of it. I'll give credit where credit is due, right? I'm not going to hate because someone has been living an insanely unhealthy lifestyle while pretending to be fitness, insanely unhealthy, and then making a change and saying, okay, I've got to change this. Now, he talked about children and everything else. And that may or may not work. It might work. I mean, if he's doing HCG and everything. If he's doing HCG and all that. But even that has its toll. It has its own side effects. But ultimately, gaming is probably going to be a better venture for him because really, Cali is there for entertainment. No person who really looks at what he's doing, who's serious about training, looks at anything Cali does and says, yeah, that's going to work for me. Because he doesn't know how to train. His training works for people on tons of gear who are reasonably genetically gifted. Anyone who's imitating the various training methods he used, if you go look at all the data, the scientific literature, everything else, look at what real athletes and real coaches have people do, it's not going to work. All this pumping, reps, again, all these partial exercises. I'm not saying high reps and high volume training doesn't build muscle. It does, but you better have a strength base if you're drug free. And he had good strength base on pressing and stuff, but most of his other exercises, he has no lower body strength base. He has very little back strength base. Because even his pull-ups and stuff, they're just partials. Everything is partial reps and all the research shows less muscle growth on partial reps. You don't gain as much muscle, even if you're able to lift heavier. You don't gain as much muscle. Range of motion matters for hypertrophy. And it damn sure matters for athletic performance because you have joint angle specificity to deal with. So again, he does a bunch of fluff and pump, partial exercises, high reps, lightweight. I'm not saying you can't make gains doing that, but you're certainly not going to make the best gains possible, not even remotely close to the best gains you could possibly make, and that's just reality. So again, no one who knows what they're looking at would take him seriously as far as any of the training advice he gives. And he even admitted not that long ago, another reason he's shrinking down, he said there's no money in bodybuilding. There is no money in bodybuilding outside of YouTube. And people say that's not true. Look at these pro bodybuilders. You guys understand that maybe 1% of professional bodybuilders actually make good money doing it? Try to let that sink in. The majority of pro bodybuilders have to have other income streams to pay for their bodybuilding. And I'm talking about professionals, guys with their pro cards. There's no money in bodybuilding. It's not like other endeavors, at least in the NFL. At least in the NFL, the lowest paid person in the NFL probably has a higher income than you do. Right? Is that fair to say? But the guy with the worst contract in the entire NFL probably makes more money than most of us do. In pro bodybuilding, the majority don't make a dime off the professional aspect. I don't even know why they call it pro. Oh, because they qualify to do paid shows. There's no money in it. And some of the guys who are making it to the Olympia, some of the guys even at the Olympia, have to have other jobs to pay for their bodybuilding. Bodybuilding professionally is expensive. It costs you money. Some of these guys, their bodybuilding expenses alone are costing them $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year between the drugs, the food, coaching, everything else. That's what it's costing them. And then they're not making anything off the bodybuilding. I mean, people have this idea that, they get these big sponsorships. Trust me, they're not getting that much. I've seen what supplement company sponsorships look like. Very few guys who are sponsored by supplement companies are actually making like $1,000 a month or something off of it. That's rare. The number of guys out there who are getting at least $1,000 in actual cash per month from a supplement company, I bet you less than 20 people on the face of the earth. And even that, you can't live on $1,000 a month. So come on. They're not making money. And he knows that. There's no money in bodybuilding unless it's monetized on YouTube. That's where the real money is. The average fitness YouTuber makes more money than some of the top 10 at the Olympia do off their bodybuilding. Let that sink in. Because they don't have a real audience, guys. There's no one willing to pay them advertising dollars for what they do. It really isn't as much as people think. So yeah, the top guys are making money. But again, how many of those have other business investments? A bunch of those guys who you see having a certain lifestyle, they've been involved in real estate and other stuff. That's where the real money is. He knows that. So Callie said, okay, this isn't a good business investment because he knows he's killing himself for it. He knows he's killing himself, so he's jumping over and doing the gaming. And that's probably a wise move for him because Callie doesn't know anything about fitness. He doesn't know anything about training. He really doesn't. So what's he going to do? He's not helping anybody. I mean, any of his fans who've been following his training advice for a year or so probably realize they're not getting very good results doing it. The majority aren't. And if they are, they're so genetically gifted that they get results doing anything. So the fact of the matter is probably a wise move for him. I mean, the truth is, and I don't like Callie, we know that. I've made that clear. I don't enjoy his child abuse jokes and rape jokes and everything else that he tells. I think it makes him a terrible person. He's got a bad past. It would be one thing if a man turned their past around, right? Because I can respect that. If a person has gone to prison for stuff and they turn their life around in a positive direction, all right, that's good. That's fine. I'd be willing to accept that if a person's made a true change in their life and I can see that change. I'd be like, okay, that person has done good. They've improved themselves. He hasn't. He brags about all his crime, brags about all the illegal stuff he got thrown in prison for, and then he continues to behave like a thug, like an ignorant thug. He makes jokes about stuff that no person who's not an evil person would joke about. So, I'm saying I don't even like the guy at all. I don't think he's a good person. He calls everyone else demons. I think that's what he is. But gaming is probably going to be a better income stream for him. He's probably going to pull a bigger audience out of that than he will the fitness thing because he's going to shrink and shrink and shrink because he doesn't know how to train. He never built a base correctly without drugs. He can't use all the drugs anymore because of his health, trying to be a father, all this other stuff. He is going to get smaller and smaller. Tell you guys right now, Callie's going to be under 180 pounds within a year if he doesn't get back on all the stuff. He's going to keep shrinking. He's going to keep shrinking. And he's not going to keep that leanness that he has because he's used to eating a certain amount of food. When he loses another 30 pounds of muscle and he doesn't have the drugs to help keep him lean, he's going to lose all those cuts too. That's just simple reality. So he might want to stick with the gaming. He's built an audience, built a base. Gaming channel is more or less the smart direction for him to go at this point, unless he's willing to blast a bunch of gear again. That's just reality. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.